Grace O'Malley, also known as Elizabeth Wilkinson, also known as Mistress Morgan Dommy or Dom in FetLife World. I just thought I'd do a post in an attempt to merge the two worlds together. FetLife is a very private community. People have fetishes and kinks that they're very embarrassed about, that I have, for want of a better word, exposed, which I knew would happen when I suggested into FetLife, the FetLife website, about 2.5 months ago, what is the cure for paedophilia, which is the genetics of primordial dwarves. My page continually repeats this information from the beginning if people go back and have a look, because it's and it's been done for public record purposes, because what I've suggested was historical, or is historical, and today I have created the genetics for that by infecting myself with the blood of a fix of a used IV equipment stuff that I found yesterday. So my genetics are now merged with that person's genetics as their genetic works, and will be merged with Paul Jason's, who I publicly invited, or somebody else probably from FetLife if he's not up for the challenge. And I've kicked around in the FetLife world for, I get confused really about the time, 7-8 years now, and met some wonderful people, and I've worked professionally as a dominatrix for a lot of that time. But I'm now known as an acted out therapist. I was the first acted out therapist in the world, and I created a website for visual sexual development, and I chucked another acted out therapist in there called Mistress Tokyo, who has been acting out as a therapist for a long time. What else can I say? So this sort of began a year ago. I mean, it probably began before that when I moved to Sydney. It's been 3 years ago, really, when I moved to, a year ago when I moved to, year and a half ago when I moved to a place here in Sydney, Australia called Kings Park, and some extremely strange things started happening in my life. And I also got involved with a guy who was terribly, his name was Richard Barton, and he thought that and he still does, think that he is the son of Satan, so like they're related, and he had like this thing on his hand that reckoned it proved it and that kind of stuff, and so we had this relationship for about a month, and during that time, he was fascinated with me because I was working at the time as a dominatrix, and I had a professional dungeon, and all that kind of stuff. Very different to the professional dungeons that anyone else has probably been to. I've always kind of been driven by what my clients have told me, rather than what other women in the profession have used as an example, which is a business principle, in terms of asking people what they want, So he was fascinated with the fact that I did this, and that's pretty much how we got together. And I didn't realise it made me so popular, to be honest with you. Like, to me, I enjoyed doing it, and so I was doing it as a profession, as a job. I enjoyed the people, I enjoyed the creativity of it and the freedom of it. It's one of the reasons why I came to, there's two reasons why I moved to Australia. The first was for work and for my health, because I have MS and it's warmer here, so the climate's better for my health. Well, it appears to be anyway, for me. And unfortunately, Richard had a few problems. Let's put it mildly. I mean, I had my own set of problems, but they're different to his. And one of his problems is that he was probably quite used to being abused by women, and would often deliberately do things in front of me to get a reaction. One of those was shoplifting. Like we'd go to the supermarket, and he would deliberately steal things in front of me. And I assume, it's funny to say that, isn't it? Because most women probably wouldn't say it like that. But how I saw it was that he was deliberately stealing things in front of me in an attempt to get me to pay for them. And I didn't react to that stuff because in my mind, if he wanted to shoplift and get caught, then he could shoplift and get caught. He chose to spend his money on other things, so it wasn't like he didn't have any money. And there was a lot of other stuff anyway as well that was kind of happening. And that relationship ended. It was brief. It only went on for a month, and the result of that was that he had HIV and I didn't know, and I found out quite not from him, just by keeping some papers hidden from him when he left, and I hit the fucking roof when I found out. So I didn't end up having HIV in the end. Well, as far as I know, I didn't, and I had to wait 3 months for the process. So, well, infecting myself may seem like a extremely dramatic thing to have done, with a fix of someone I don't even know who could possibly have HIV. It actually isn't, because I've had the experience, and I think I shared some information about how it looks like there is a cure. I actually read an article that said that there was on the internet. So if there's not one, there's one not far off at all. So it's kind of like cancels it out, really. So everything that I'm doing is informed and historical, because I understand. I mean, if people actually cared, it sounds terrible to say that, but if people actually cared about the sexual abuse of children and of people with a medical condition, that it would have happened by now. Somebody would have noticed a long time ago that the oldest and longest suffering of children and people with a medical condition in the world could have been fixed, and for animals as well, people who have zoophilia as well. Zoophilia is the medical term for people who have a sexual attraction to animals. A lot of other people know it as bestiality, because it's like animals, especially on small animals. I mean, I don't want to get graphic, but it's pretty bad, guys. And it's terrible that nobody has as yet, cared enough to do something about the suffering of people, because nobody wakes up in the morning and thinks, oh, I'm going to get up and molest my dog today, you know what I mean? Unless they actually have a sexual attraction to their dog, and they were born that way. And there's all kinds of mythical tales about half animal, half animal, half human. I think even South Park had man pig bear or something they called it. And that's the thing about the creators of the world, is that they South Park is a satire comedy at its best, but it also highlights in a way the realities of what being a child is like, and how adults just miss it. How adults just miss. The kids are telling you what's going on in the world, and you're not, and people aren't seeing it. I think I've said it. I think I've said it before on a video about how when Cartman goes online and he's talking to 9 Inch Daddy, and he thinks he's talking to a dwarf, but he's talking to a pedophile who's got like a 9-inch dick. But the conversation they're having is Cartman's like, oh, you're lonely, you're lonely from a child's point of view, And I mean, I didn't write that, but as a writer as well, I mean, South Park is saying to you guys, what the fuck? So, like, can't you see that this is happening, and you're not noticing. It's like the hint. I've noticed that the thing about people is that some people don't realise that thing about messages are two-way. Like, messages are going out and messages are coming in. And I had the experience today, personally, when I rang WINZ International, spoke to this guy. In the end, I actually rang back and asked if I could make a complaint about him, and I'm going to do that tomorrow. Because I've had this ongoing saga with them for like 2 months since this process began, and it's documented. Patrick, I was going to say his name now, Patrick from WINZ International, and it's like he has a the only way I can think to describe it is it's like a peripheral neurological problem, because I ring, right? So I've rung about, like, the reasons that I've been ringing since I've been ringing have always been the same. But every time I ring, he creates a different reason. It's the weirdest thing. And every time I ring and I speak to him, he tries to create a different reason about why I'm ringing. It's it's like the weirdest thing. I said to the guy that I eventually spoke to today, I said to him, it's like being in a movie. I said to him, you ring up about, so I've been ringing up, and sending emails a lot for 2.5 months, and but he just creates about the same problem. The problem hasn't changed. I mean, the situation has developed, but the problem hasn't changed. And but every time I talk to him, he creates a new problem. It's fucking weird. It's just like weird. And people seem to be like that a lot. Like there's a miscommunication between what I'm saying to them and what they're hearing. And I actually used to think it was me. And I started to realise it's actually not. Like, a lot of people don't have the ability to respond or ask for more information if they're confused about what's happening, or they're not sure about what's happening. They just have this inbuilt thing that says, oh, I know what that's about, so I'll just respond. And because that might be because what I've suggested is historical, so it's kind of changed, but it's changed me, and it's probably that change hasn't taken over the world yet. I mean, so I really still don't understand what Patrick's problem is. I think it's documented on YouTube. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube, or it's on the group that I created, which I no longer use, here on Facebook. There's a video. There's like a phone recording of me ringing them up and talking to each of them, like Evelyn and Patrick, and they like sell each other out, and even Evelyn sells Patrick out, and she says, "Oh no, he's really, really bad," and blah blah blah, and then at the time I thought, why doesn't she complain? And then today when I rang up and I spoke to him, I thought, fuck, why don't I complain? And so I did, and I'm going to complain again tomorrow to another woman who's probably got the same attitude towards people, That's the unfortunate thing about WINZ International. WINZ, what we call them in New Zealand, who are supposed to provide social services and support to people, is they're nuts, and they have a very bad attitude to people, and you ring them up for help or for a solution to the problem or whatever's happening, and to you, like, in reality, and they tell you it's not happening. It's just the weirdest thing. Like, when when you experience, I'm sure other people have experienced it as well. I mean, when you have an experience, regardless of what it is, and then you tell someone about it and they tell you it didn't happen, it's like being hit in the head with a pool noodle. That's how I describe it. It's like, what? Were we there? Were you there? It's just ridiculous. Yeah. So anyway, so I just thought that I'd just do an update about what it is I'm doing online, where I live a lot, which I'll probably be living here for a while, as the process kind of takes place. As it's been publicly recorded, recorded in my house as well. If it makes you feel any better, I noticed that myself about 2 months ago, when I suggested in Defeat Life, that there was a cure for paedophilia, and which is in my family, which my family probably still deny and are embarrassed about, but I'm not embarrassed about it. And people can't change how they're born. It's just the reality of life. You can't change how you're born unless a solution is created for you. And in the world, it's giving people a break. That's what we call it. That's what normal people call it. You give someone a break because you recognise your limits. So yeah. So that's me. Cool. Bye.